Well, hello there again, friends. Today is 7/11/2022, and today is the Odin Project vlog day 131. I am 47% complete with the JavaScript section, and I am on the module Project Weather app. Just getting started here, so we'll read through this real quick. Introduction. Use everything we've been discussing to create a weather forecast site using the Weather API from the previous lesson. You should be able to search for a specific location and toggle displaying the data in Fahrenheit and Celsius. You should change the look of the page based on the data, maybe by changing the color of the background or by adding images that describe the weather. You could even use Giphy API to find appropriate weather-related Giphies and display them. Feel free to use promises and or async await in your code, though you should try to become comfortable with both. API keys, secret, and security. Not all APIs are free, and depending on how they're set up, they can cost money per use. And while we're on APIs, I found a clever way, I think, to be able to do this video, record this video for you guys, and not have to expose my API. So, my API key, excuse me. Because last time doing that took me forever to upload that blurred video, and I don't want to do it again. So I'll keep coming up with unique ways. Otherwise, I'll just keep recycling my keys if not. But that's kind of a pain in the butt to do every time. But anyway, this makes them a prime target for people looking to use the API without paying for your API key. They can also be rate limited, and if someone has access to your API key, they can use up all your uses, and that's kind of what I was talking about in the last video about API abuse. One way to prevent this issue is to store your keys on the server and never send them to the front end in the first place. This is often done using environment variables, and it takes the key and it makes the key available only on the server the code is deployed to. When talking about API keys and security, you'll often hear never trust the client, meaning the front end. Often this means not to trust the data coming from the client. Sorry, my Tourette's is active here. Often this means not to trust that data coming from the client is valid, but it also means that you cannot trust anything we send to the client. Because of this, when you leak an API key, GitHub will alert you that you've committed an API key publicly. After following this project and indeed exposing the API key, you will notice that GitHub will send you this alert. This is totally okay for this project, as this API key is publicly available and there is no consequence for exposing it. So that's why I'm also doing this, because it's really not that big of a deal, because I can just recycle a new one. But I'm just trying to practice good security hygiene, if you will, even though this is, like they're saying, it's not supposed to be a thing in the first place. But for this exercise, we have to work with what we got. This is not to say all keys are this way. Later during the backend course, you will learn ways to securely deal with these topics, and can't wait for that, because obviously we know there's a better way to do it than to expose it to the front end. Assignment: set up a blank HTML document with the appropriate links to your JavaScript and CSS. I did that in this video, and we'll go over it, and then I did number 2 as well. Write the functions that hit the API. You're going to want functions that can take a location and return the weather data for that location. For now, just console.log the information. So with that said, let's go over here. I'm going to show you there's no CSS I wrote yet. I kind of jumped around a bit, and I did create I did come down here and I set up a simple form that lets users, number 4 here, set up a simple form that will let users input their location and will fetch the weather info. Still just console.log it. I kind of already did that, kinda-ish. I just got a crude form set up, basically, so I could test with it with different cities for my own learning and understanding, to see how the API works, since I've never worked with an API before outside of Giphy. So it was cool getting to see the different cities that I plugged in and the different data and we'll go over a little bit of that here in the video. I don't want to make this video overly long, but it's cool to go over the JSON that comes back. So with that said, I have a basic form here. I've got my style sheet linked. Like I said, there's nothing in the style yet, no CSS, but there will be. Got my title, and then in my body, down at the bottom here, I have a script tag. that goes out to script.js, which is this over here. And then I have a label for find weather info by location, 3 inputs, which is basically your search city, your search state, and your search country, with the appropriate their text inputs, as you'll see in the screen in a moment. And there's placeholders: enter city, enter state, i.e. Florida. So you do a in my example, in my app, use a 2-letter state code, and then country code, which will be US in our example here, but you could use, UK or GB for Great Britain. And I put required in all these fields. I may go back. I have thought about this. I may go back at some point and do some form validation. We'll see. It's not required for this project, and I really want to do it, but yet I kind of don't, because I really want to keep moving on with the program, and I don't want to get bogged down in a single project. But just something I was thinking about. And they have 2 buttons in the. I guess this isn't technically a form because it's not embodied inside a form element, but you get the point. All this is a form. And then again, subject to change, but I have a class search button that just says search, and then a reset button for clear. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to expose my code up until I get to the API secret key, or API key starting. I do want to show you how I did this. Okay. So, is that it? I think that's, yeah. So after this is basically just my key and then the mode cores. So here's the here's how I have my JavaScript set up so far, and I have a DOM module pattern here called DOM manip, and this is going to contain any of the DOM manipulation. So I have a search button, a clear button, and those are query selecting off of the search and reset classes for the buttons that I have in the HTML that we just went over. And I have a search button and clear button for add event listener clicks. The search button click event is for fetching. It calls fetch current weather, and the clear button calls clear search, which here's clear search. Simply put, just like in the previous project, all we're going to do is just clear the form. So instead of doing reload on the page and aggravating other developers and users, the better way to do it is just to empty out the field values. So that's what this does, is document.get element ID. So I'm just grabbing each of the IDs of the 3 elements, 3 tags, taking the value and just making it an empty string, and that clears it. Again, you could do other things. Again, not a great example, but you could do a document reload type situation. Again, I learned through, I don't know if it's through the program, but through something I read online, basically saying that that's not a proper way to do things, and that users and developers who see that pull their hair out for various reasons, because it gives you, if you have something else on the page that you're fetching or waiting for, if you do a reload on the page, obviously it reloads everything. So it's not a good practice to get into to do that. So there's better ways to do that. So anyway, not beating that dead horse anymore. So we have async function to fetch current forecasts from user input on form. Again, this is all subject to change, but this is satisfies number 2 here, or requirement number 2. We have async function fetch current weather. I wrapped it all in a try catch. So I have a constant city search equals document.get element by ID. So I'm basically grabbing the IDs for search city, search state, and search country, and I'm grabbing the value. We've been over this before, so I'm going to abbreviate over that a little bit. And those become the value of search city, search state, and search country. And then I console.log them for diagnostic purposes, so I can see them. I can see their values in the console on DevTools to make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to. And then I have a constant response equals await fetch, and then this is the openweathermap API on the documentation, and you can learn this by perusing through the documentation. I don't know, let's see if I have it pulled it up on my other screen here. I'll go through it and then I'll supply the URL to where I'm finding this generically in the comments in the description of the video, so you guys can have that to peruse through as well. But anyway, it tells you that here's what you're going to hit the weather endpoint. This weather endpoint will give you the weather of any location for the current day only, and that satisfies the requirement for now. So we're going to fetch that, and then we're going to add in search city, search state, and search country. And the API documentation does say that you have to separate each variable, or each, in this instance, variable, but in their examples they're showing you can do search city, search state, search country, and you have to have you can put anything you want in there, but there has to be a comma in between each, because that's what tells the API the separation of when you're done with the city and when you're ready to enter the state, and then also when you're done with the state and you're ready to enter in the country. Again, country is country code, so I believe it's 2 letters, so US, UK, GB, JP for Japan, that sort of thing. Search state, so if you're in the United States, state will be IL for Illinois, or IA for Iowa, or WI for Wisconsin. You get the point. Search city is exactly what it sounds like, just typing in your search city, and I found that the API is pretty friendly. It doesn't appear to be case sensitive, so you can either do Chicago with an uppercase or Chicago with a lowercase, and it'll both work. And then again, I got this from the documentation as well. It doesn't come standard. You have to look this up. If you do at units equals imperial, that will change by default. All your fetches are going to be, the units are going to be Celsius and I can't remember what the other one was off the top of my head. It doesn't matter. Anyway, if you put ampersand, which is their API call for our documentation for calling a specific parameter. So units equals imperial. Imperial will give you Fahrenheit and whatever the other one was. It's in documentation. Let me see if I can pull that up for you just real fast. I don't want to slow it down too much here, but this is here, bring it up here. This is the current, which is what we're working on right now. So there's your weather, there's your current. This is the basic. They're showing an example in latitude and longitude, but this is the URL you would use to get all your API calls are in here, and there's different bulk calls you can make. For instance, let's see, the imperial. Let's see if that's on. There it is, right there. It's an optional. It doesn't come standard, and it will. Let's see, for temperature. Oh, it's yeah. Temperature is Fahrenheit. Use imperial, and it doesn't tell me. Anyway, there was something else, something about a number measurement. I think it was a rounding or something. But basically, use imperial if you want Fahrenheit. Use metric if you want Celsius, and then Kelvin is your default, which isn't too friendly to use, especially if in the U.S. because we're used to using Fahrenheit. So there is the API documentation that you would use for the current endpoint. Okay. And console.log, fetching current weather data from API, and I'm calling out the current data that I skipped already. Sorry. Constant current data equals, we're going to wait for that response to come back. We're going to format it into JSON, and then we're going to count.log current data, and then we're going to return current data back to the function. It's currently not, returning anywhere, but I think that's going to be in our next video. We'll be manipulating the current data to get it cleansed and formatted the way we want to display it on the page the way we want, is what it looks like. And then I have a catch for error. Console log, something's went wrong with fetching the current weather data and then display the error. Again, the point of this exercise is not to troubleshoot your error, at least not at this point. So not ideally you would put other code in here that would address your error, do something with it, or have the user do something. So that is the over-explained version of this. So I'm showing it in the browser. Okay, and I didn't go over the GitHub. I created the GitHub project. I've been over that 100 times, so I won't show you how to do that. But make sure you create your repo, clone it down locally, all that jazz, and then don't forget to upload. So your changes, commit your changes. So here we go. So in order to hide my API key, I did turn off XHR, so we will not receive responses in the console. I just figured that out on my own right before I started the video, just to keep things flowing, so I don't have to try to blur it out. So we have Chicago. Let's do Chicago, Illinois, US, and search. And then it's console logging, so it's going out and getting it. It's Chicago, Illinois, US, fetching current weather data from API. So this is kind of cool. So this here, I won't drill into all of it, but it's a lot of really cool information. So, well, I did not do what I wanted to do. Anyway, it will show you all kinds of cool stuff. So here's your coordinate, your base station. Excuse me. Clouds, 75%. I'm guessing cloudy in Chicago. There's your coordinate longitude, latitude for Chicago. Main object feels like 90, humidity 66%, pressure is 1008, temperature is 84.5. Max temp today was 86.25, and minimum temp this it was morning, I guess, was 82.53. It's pretty accurate. I played with this quite a bit yesterday. I was going to upload a video, but it got too late, so I'm doing it today. But yeah, I was playing around with the different cities and stuff to see how it would pull up different cities. It's pretty accurate. One thing I will say I didn't notice, and I even researched in the docs that I showed you guys, and I didn't see anything. Even though we put Chicago, Illinois, for example, I'm not sure. There's only one Chicago, likely, but I didn't see anywhere where you could denote the state. Even though it says it'll take state, it still seems like it's not quite there all the way. Like sometimes it'll shoot, if there's another Chicago, I don't know. It just seemed like it was the documentation was a little lacking on, like it wanted you to use zip code. Maybe I should switch it to zip code or something like that. That's more precise, where you can't have where it's not shouldn't be possible to have zip code have multiple hits on it. But anyway, we're just gonna go with this for now. US ID, that probably means something. Sunrise, sunset. This is all UTC Unicode time, Unix timestamp time, I believe. So that's why it doesn't really make a lot of sense. If you converted it, it would. Time zones in UTC as well, I believe, by default. Visibility, again, not really that helpful. Wind or weather array is pretty cool. We've got clouds, description, broken clouds, and there's that. And then we have a wind object for speed at 12 miles per hour and 230 degrees, whatever that is. So anyway, yeah, so that's breaking down the object. So obviously next time will be next video, I think part 3 will be writing a function that processes the JSON you're getting from the API and return an object with only the data you require for your app. So basically it'll be going into this and cleaning it up and only grabbing what we really need, because we don't need all this stuff. Like I won't use coordinates and all this stuff and the IDs and the DT and all that. So it'll be cleaning it up, and I'll showcase that for you. Again, here is the URL, HTTPS openweathermap.org/current data for the call for the API call for today to target the current endpoint. And I will include this in the notes so that you guys have it. So hope you enjoyed the ride, coming along the ride today. Please like, share, and subscribe for more content, and let me know in the comments section how you guys are getting along, getting started with this weather app. I look forward to building it out with you guys. It's going to be fun. So with all that said, till next time, see ya.